gee, is the economy will earnings, are stocks really worth what they're selling for today? And that's spilled over into a more volatile, a more risk-off sentiment for at least the time being.
Over in Europe, the main indices there are all in the red on weakness in the mining sector. The UK's FTSE 100 is down by 0.1%. Germany's DAX falls 0.8%, and France's CAC 40 is down by 1.32%. Now here in Asia, we're seeing a mixed picture in early trade. Japan's Nikkei 225 rises nearly 0.3%, while South Korea's Kospi moves sideways. Over in Australia, the ASX index is down by 1%. Onto the commodities market, oil prices extend their gains due to increased risks of supply disruptions amid the conflict in the Middle East. Brent crude jumps 5% to $77.60 to a barrel. Gold prices remain steady now as the dollar strengthens, with markets reassessing the likelihood of another significant rate cut by the Federal Reserve. Now, inflation in the Philippines eases to an over 4-year low in September. The consumer price index coming in at 1.9%, beating estimates across the board. The slowdown was driven by slower increases in food prices, including rice. The Philippine government has been citing the tariff reduction in imported rice as one of the main catalysts for slower inflation for September. Year-to-date, inflation now stands at 3.4%, well within the government's target range of between 2 to 4%. With inflation further easing, the Philippine Central Bank has more room to cut interest rates. Now, the ASEAN Plus 3 Macroeconomic Research Office, or AMRO, affirms its growth outlook for the Philippines. In its latest report, AMRO projects the country's growth at 6.1% this year and 6.3% in 2025. This positions the Philippines as the second best-performing economy in the ASEAN region, following Vietnam. AMRO attributes this growth to increased government spending and investments and to a rise in services exports, all of which are driving significant enhancements to the domestic economy. President Bongbong Marcos appoints Jaime Alfonso Antonio Zobel de Ayala, son of billionaire Jaime Augusto Zobel de Ayala, to help position the Philippines as a top investment destination. Jaime Zobel de Ayala joins the Interagency Investment Promotion Coordination Committee, representing the private sector in the National Capital Region. This committee, formed under the Foreign Investment Act, integrates all promotion and facilitation efforts to attract foreign investments. The 33-year-old Jaime Alfonso currently serves as an associate director at Ayala Corporation, co-CEO of AC Industrials Technology Holdings, and president and CEO of AC Mobility Holdings. Elsewhere in Asia, Singapore's disgraced former transport minister Subraman Yam Iswaran receives a 12-month prison sentence, marking the city-state's first conviction of an ex-cabinet member. Last week, Iswaran pleaded guilty to obstruction of justice and accepting illegal gifts from businessmen. These gifts, valued at over $300,000 included tickets to English Premier League soccer matches and to musicals in London. Prosecutors had originally recommended a sentence of just 6 to 7 months. Iswaran resigned as transport minister in January while under investigation. This is a case that has captured significant attention in Singapore, a country famous for its efficient bureaucracy and uncompromising standards of governance. Now, business activity in the Eurozone reverses into contraction for the first time since February. The Purchasing Managers Index drops 49.6 in September, down from 51 in August. Despite this downturn, the latest figure exceeds expectations of 48.9. The decline is primarily attributed to the services sector, which sees its PMI slip to 51.4 last month, down from 52.9 in August. Now, this matters because the decline in business activity signals an economic slowdown, which could lead to lower consumer spending and a need for policy changes. We're taking a quick break. Please stay with us as we dive deep into the numbers and the narratives that matter most to your bottom line.
It has no authorization.
We hope and pray that it will not.
Right. Thanks for having me here.
An orchestrated
By myself, basically.
We always say that.
It depends.
A well-concerted effort.
Perhaps I can reiterate.
My greatest beefsteak. Iba pa tayo.
Beauty, health, adventure. This is for you.
Ultimate mind and body experience.
Join Marie Lozano where she uncovers the untold stories and unexpected surprises in the world of lifestyle.
The idea was to give viewers a behind-the-scenes look at how things work and if it's worth the hype. Yeah!
The Lifestyle Lab, Saturday on BNC, the Billionario News Channel.
Welcome back to Basis Points. Trading at the Philippine Stock Exchange opened just a few minutes ago. Let's take a look at how the market is reacting to the latest September inflation print. Right now, great inflation figures at 1.9% in September. PSC index is up by a 0.25% to 74.07. All shares index up by same 0.25% as well to 39.92. Leading the charge are gains in the financials, industrials, holding firms, services, and property counters. Going on the opposite direction is the mining and oil counter. It's down marginally, down by just 0.1%. Now, taking a look at the foreign exchange market, the peso opens little change from its previous close of 56.37. It opened at 56.38 against the greenback. Our guest today is the founder of the award-winning homegrown brand Carmen's Best Ice Cream, known for its exceptional quality. Established in 2009, Carmen's Best has grown significantly, even gaining recognition from Pope Francis. And in 2022, Carmen's Best entered a strategic partnership with Manny Pangalinan's Metro Pacific Investments Corporation, which acquired a majority, 51% stake in the company. Here with us to talk about this and more is Mr. Ice Cream himself, Paco Magsaysay.
Hi, Maiki. Thank you for having me today.
Hi, Paco. We're happy to have you. We want to hear all about this sweet success story of yours. How did this premium artisanal ice cream brand come to be?
Well, my father and his friends started a dairy farm in Bai, Laguna in 2007. And that got me into looking at making other products aside from fresh milk. And that's how we got into ice cream making in 2011.
Looking back at your childhood, what were your favorite ice cream brands, and how did that affect your vision for Carmen's Best?
Well, growing up in the 70s, I would go to the Magnolia Ice Cream House in Quezon City. And then later, I remember Coney Island ice cream in Green Hills. So ice cream has always been a big part of my childhood and memory.
You know, Selecta, Magnolia, big players in the ice cream industry from decades ago.
Yes.
What was the gap that you wanted to fill with Carmen's Best?
Well, I wanted to fill the premium ice cream market. I felt that there was no local player in that segment. And, we were quite surprised how our company slowly kept on growing because we honestly did not have a 3, 5, or even a 10-year plan. We just sort of went with the flow.
Interesting. And so much love went into this. You named the brand after your daughter.
Yes.
And similarly, your Lola, Carmencita, also shares
Yes.
a similar iteration of that name.
Yeah.
How did this personal touch affect what you put into the brand and your vision for it?
Yeah. Well, I feel that the sincerity in coming up with a premium product and the fact that I always said that we were not after market share, we were just after making the best possible ice cream. So that's what guided us from the start and up to now. That's what guides us.
Talking about market share, what is the current size of the ice cream industry in the country?
Well, when I started in 2010, it was a 30 billion peso industry. And I just researched this morning, but it's now apparently a 40 billion. So I was quite surprised how much it's grown in 12 years.
Well, we live in the tropics. Ice
That's
cream
right.
is an important part
Yeah.
of our lives here. Okay.
Yeah, so it's been growing annually at about 5% since we started the business. And our segment, which is the premium segment, has been also growing along.
How were you able to maintain that high standard of quality as you scaled the business?
I think it's important to keep in mind that that's what separates us from the big guys. And, we're not looking to be a a major player or try to unseat the top guys in the industry. So we know that we cater to a niche market, and we want to maintain our reputation and good quality for this particular niche market.
It's a 40 billion peso industry,
Yes.
and dominating that would be Selecta at about a lion's share.
Yes.
70%?
Yes.
Okay, what insights can you gather from this?
Well, even let's say you were to compare it to a telco business, the CD&E market really will dominate, or it's, as you said, the lion's share of the market. And since it's hard to go head to head with such big companies and such deep pockets and very well entrenched in the market, we decided to create a niche and just serve that small market for us.
And it worked out for you.
It worked out perfectly.
Speaking of big companies with deep pockets,
Yes.
In 2022, you sold a majority of your business, 51% stake
Yes.
to the MVP Group, and the valuation then was at $500 million. So
Yes.
half of that,
Yes.
Interesting. What motivated you to sell Carmen's Best to the MVP Group? I know you weren't shopping it around,
Yes.
so tell us that story.
Yeah, we were actually, it was not even in the plan that we were going to sell or get an investor in. And it came out of nowhere that the group of Sir MVP reached out to us. I think everything happens for a reason, and it was a good time for us to actually entertain the offer. And between us, me and my father, and the board, we decided to, let go of majority of the company.
How did you know that 2022, that was the right time to sell and that this was the right group to do it with?
Well, it was still the latter part of the pandemic, and even during the pandemic, when a lot of industries were shut down, airline, tourism, that was a big part of our market. And we were paying our employees all their full salary. It was getting difficult for me personally because I was pulling money out of my own pocket to support the staff. We have 38 people in the business. So I approached my father. I said, it might be time to think about closing the business because I'm not sure how long this pandemic will last. And it had been already a year that I was pulling money out of my pocket. And so he said, no, let's just wait because you still have to milk the cows. I mean, the cows have to be milked. If not, they get mastitis. No? So we continued the business, and buti na lang somebody reached out to us and wanted to work with us, partner with us.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. What significant changes have been ushered in since the MVP Group came along?
Well, they manage the business now. They're 51%, so they have control of management, and I sit on the board. So the big changes are, I think, mindset. I mean, they have a different approach to growing a business compared to an SME, which was what we were before, an SME. So the approach is just very different, and I think it was time for us to step aside and make them grow the business.
Right, and they can do just that.
Yes.
So, Paco, dairy sourced in the Philippines is less than 1%.
Yes.
Can you tell us why this is so?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the reasons would be the lack of support that the government gives the dairy farmers. In other Southeast Asian...
It's just not attractive for them to get in the business of dairy farming. We need more incentives from the government.
Yes.
In order to usher in more more investments from farmers into this business.
Yes. So in other Southeast Asian countries, there is support from government to dairy farmers, even cattle farmers. Whereas in the Philippines, there's hardly any support. So it's hard for businesses to scale up or to even to keep their farms running because it's very challenging to have a dairy farm in a tropical country like the Philippines.
But somehow you guys were able to make it work, and you were even able to pivot into ice cream. All right, what advice can you give other entrepreneurs who are considering selling their businesses to a large conglomerate?
I think it's important to understand, especially if you're going to work together, if you're not selling 100%, that you understand the mindset and how they do business, because it's like a marriage. You'll be working with them, you'll be doing business with them for the long run. Whereas if you were to sell 100%, then you're out of management, you're out of everything, then you don't have to worry about anything. So it really depends if it's a buy-in where they will only buy a percentage of your company, or they're going to buy 100% of your company. So it has a very different aspect to it. Yeah.
In choosing buyers, what should people be looking out for in a potential buyer?
Yeah. Well, if you're going to sell 100%, of course, you get maximum value. But if you're going to look at getting a partner in, it's more of a long-term play where you're hoping that a few years down the road, you'll have a higher return. Similar to what Injap did with Jollibee when he initially sold 70% of his company. When he sold the 30%, several years later, it was worth more than the 70% when he first sold. So I think those were the business lessons I kept in mind in doing this deal. So hopefully our 49% will be bigger than the 51% we sold.
Oh, so that's your vision. Okay.
Yes.
Can you describe the transition process after the sale? What was that like?
Well, of course, culture is different. It's a big company, whereas ours is a little bit more family style or family business. So I think they brought in a lot of professionalism and a lot of connections in the industry. I remember I was already dealing with SM for several years. But when the MVP group came into our business, it was so easy for them to get a deal with SM. So I think things like that, it gave us a different, unlocked a lot of connections.
Speaking of unlocking doors and connections, your ice cream was enjoyed by Pope Francis on a return flight from Manila to Rome. He had 2 cups.
Yes.
How did this recognition impact your brand, and what key strategies do you employ to grow your business and connect with consumers?
I think with any business, there's always going to be events that take place that's totally out of your control. And I feel that this was one of those events where a few months earlier, at that time, Ramon Ang sold his majority stake back to the Lucio Tan Group. So at that time, they were serving the ice cream brand of Mr. Ang. And when it was bought out by the group of Mr. Lucio Tan, and they didn't have an ice cream in their portfolio, they reached out to us to serve our ice cream in the business class outbound of Philippine Airlines. And that's how it started.
That's always a treat to see the Carmen's Best Ice Cream brand on the plane. Okay, so Paco, this industry was a 30 billion peso industry in 2010. Right now, 2024, it's a 40 billion peso industry. What's your growth outlook for this industry moving forward?
Well, I see it, maintaining the 5 to 7% growth as the years go on. So, the next several years will be quite interesting. And the fact that we're creating a bigger dent in the market in our little way, more people get to try it, more people look for it. So it's quite exciting.
Now, what is your personal favorite Carmen's Best ice cream flavor?
I like the pistachio. I like the Brazilian coffee and dark chocolate. So those are my favorite flavors. Okay,
but what do consumers like? What is your top-selling Carmen's Best flavor, and how have consumer preferences in general changed over the years? What was it when you first started and to this day?
It's pretty much maintained the top 5 selling flavors, which is salted caramel, malted milk, butter pecan, Brazilian coffee. And it's maintained pretty much the same top 5 flavors. But I hope that they get to try the other flavors because we make each flavor quite unique. We don't have a ice cream base where you just add a flavor and that's what it is. We really do all the flavors from scratch. So each one has a very different taste.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Paco Magsaysay. It was great to have you and to hear about your sweet success story.
Thank you so much.
All right. That was Paco Magsaysay, the founder of Carmen's Best Ice Cream. Now we're taking a quick breather. Basis Points will be right back.
How would you like to see our problems with Pogos end?
And the Pogo.
Would you consider running for office in the future?
It would be hypocrisy to say no.
Please.
At that time, how much was your first pay?
If I'm not mistaken, it was like $120 per week.
Oh, wow. So before we say goodbye to you, you can take off your sunglasses so people can see you better. Always stay at the forefront.
At BNC, 12 noon doesn't mean break. But breaking news, biggest stories, and latest updates.
15,000 teddy bears to pay tribute to the children killed in Gaza. Tensions in the West Philippine Sea reaching the skies. Hong Kong reclaims its spot as Asia's top financial center.
Mai Rodriguez, Newsfeed at noon on BNC, the Billionario News Channel. We are giving spotlight with these innovative business enterprises that shares growth in our community. We're giving these entrepreneurs a chance to boost their business in the market. Let's join Mai Rodriguez together with different entrepreneurs to know their stories and challenges.
Remember, the road to success is never a straight line.
Pathways to Success, 11 a.m. on BNC, the Billionario News Channel.
We have this just in. The Sandigan Bayan 3rd Division has acquitted Chief Presidential Legal Counsel and former Senate President Juan Ponce Enrile, co-accused Gigi Reyes and businesswoman Janet Napoles in the so-called pork barrel scam. Stay tuned to BNC for more details on this story and more. Now, we have some technical issues, but right now we are about to give you a new story that's coming on. You know, maybe we're just going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, no break. Before we go, Japanese car maker Toyota is postponing the start of production for its electric vehicles in the U.S. due to a slowdown in sales. The company had originally scheduled to begin operations in Kentucky by late 2025, but now anticipates launching production in 2026. Meanwhile, Toyota announces its intent to sell as many as 7 Japanese-made EV models in America over the next 2 years. The company aims to sell 1.5 million EVs globally by 2026. However, demand for battery-powered cars has weakened, with other car makers like Volvo and Ford also scaling back their EV initiatives. And that's it for Basis Points. Catch you again on Monday for more news on the financial markets and more.